What makes you happy?
Be yourself, be positive. Just another mindset.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a new episode of the Just Another Mindset podcast. We need a paradigm shift if it comes to our economic and social systems. Let us drive this change together. The Just Another Mindset podcast shares inspiration and tangible techniques on how to create seismic shifts in an outdated system, collectively and for individuals alike. My name is Ismael, and each week I bring to you a relevant conversation, message, or theme that will not only entertain you, but help you to change towards a more meaningful and satisfying life. Get encouraged by listening to successful thought leaders, inspiring individuals, and impressive changemakers. Change from within will last and create positive results for all of us. Let us get inspired and embrace collective changes for the better. In this episode, I have the great opportunity to share a conversation that I had with Claire with you. Claire followed a traditional path and worked for media and television after successful degrees at prestigious business universities in France. She came to a point in her life where she questioned this path and she decided to make drastic changes in order to live a more authentic life. We got to know each other via our common friend Gijs, who was a guest on the podcast before, and during the time of the recording, Claire was living in Auroville, which is another common ground for us. In this episode, we talk about transition and change. You will hear about taking the decision to live a more authentic life and consequences of such. We discuss how working with your head differs a lot from work with your heart and hands. You will hear about Auroville, forest schools, and the role of education. We discuss continuous learning and what role our environment plays in such. You will hear about inner and outer transformation and why it is such a liberating decision to do the work, even if it is not easy. Wonderful. And with that, Claire, a warm welcome to the Just Another Mindset podcast. And my first question for you today is, how do you feel and what is on your mind?
Today I had a great day because I volunteer at the cafeteria in the kitchen at the cafeteria of this place I'm living in, which is called Auroville, this community in Southeast India. And it felt really good to wake up, to go there working at 7:30 with everyone else. Like it felt like super vibrant to be in the hub of the city where people come in, deliver veg, we're cooking. Some customer comes say, could you put less garlic next time in the moussaka? So I really enjoyed this feeling of contributing that he gave it to me and uncovering, being part, belong, all this. So it was great to begin my day like that. And I feel like I'm pregnant, and right now my baby is kicking a lot because I just had lunch. So it's quite also nice to do this recording with you as this baby, who I'm calling Boom, is so alive with us, even though you can't see. So I guess I feel like we are quite I feel happy to be in nature and to talk, to see where it goes together.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that. And of course, welcome, Boom. And yes, you sit in nature. For all those who are listening for now, I think it's time to go to YouTube and check out Claire's background, because she certainly wins the prize for the nicest podcast background so far. And Claire, you already mentioned Auroville, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that in more depth. But before we do that, you also talked about the cafeteria and you talked about working with your hands. Is this something that you have done for long or since always? Or what is the professional background, if you want to say, that brought you where you are today?
So no, it has never been something really present. I did some political studies, and then I did like a business degree after that, and I worked for long years for a pay TV channel company. And so for all this time, I mostly used my head, and it's quite recent that I realized there is something else. There is another part of me, and yet I'm not practical at all. It's amazing to see how I'm not used to have this hands, and so it provides lots of humility, because in, let's say, in my past life, maybe I had this good student kind of vibe, so I still have it, but I can't like express it because I'm absolutely not good at cooking or gardening or creating things with my hand in anyhow. But I still practice it as a way to explore, and because I believe that diversity is the diversity for me is the core of everything. So if I only use my head, there is a lack of diversity of what it can create. And it doesn't matter if I'm not good, even though for my ego it's quite challenging to be so I that's why I work with my hands, just to practice this diversity needs. And I think I replied to you. Yeah, so it's not something common in my life, but it's something that I put more and more in action.
Wonderful. So from using mostly your head, now also using your hands. And what I'm supposing or I'm assuming is that you're also using your heart while you practice all the things with your hands. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's connected, no? Like the arm, the fact of having the arm more solid definitely gives you, I feel, more like an open heart, because they're the same. This is the extension. So this, and of course, like doing more physical activities. I think, in like the in Ayurvedic medicine, you have this different categorization of Vata, Pitta, Kapha in order to understand people's personality. And I'm Vata and Kapha, which means that I'm at the same time earth and air. Like I'm at the same time the body and the mind. And the doctor who told me that, she said it's going to be challenging for you to find balance. And I feel like that's why I'm super interested in this, connected to diversity again, huh? But finding the balance, the harmony, finding this tune that sounds in between those two things.
Experimenting and playing around, right?
Yeah, for sure.
In order
For
to
sure.
find that balance. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Claire, and you mentioned that 5 years ago in your old life. So maybe we can use that as a little segue, because it sounds to me that you have done a lot of inner work and that you have made some changes and you may choose how to respond to that. But what made you question, let's say, your old life or your old environment in this paid TV, I suppose, good career? And when and why did you decide, there's something missing, or you would actually like to experiment more and look into different routes of life?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because I don't want to answer with the words that I've been using so many times. I want to make sure which are the words that are true today when I look back, because of course memories are changing along the story that you experience. So I want to make sure that uh, I think I was looking. a part of me was looking for freedom. I think he came for this need of freedom. I think I lacked some freedom in my maybe in my childhood or in my studies, some possibility to allow myself. And also again we come back to this idea of diversity, but to try to see surely there are other ways to be a human. It can't be that the capitalistic society today is the only way to be a human. And I think I wanted that. I wanted to see how big is the world, and of course it cost me a lot. I remember I, I was so scared. I was so scared to change dramatically, and also that's why at the beginning when I decided to come to Auroville for the first time, I only took a sabbatical for my job, a sabbatical of 6 months, and I was telling myself, I'll see. I remember so well when I came back from Auroville, so 6 months afterwards, and I was in south of France in front of this mailbox where I had to put the letter, the recommended letter to officially request my démission, what do you say? Demission, to quit the job. And the emotion that was like coming through me, and to feel like, oh, I'm jumping like in the unknown, more than when I got these tickets to go to India, a country I'd never been, to a place, Auroville. The only contact I had with Auroville at that time, when I decided to go and volunteer for 6 months, was through an art exhibition, because I went to see an exhibition in Arles, and which is in south of France, and there was a photo exhibition about Auroville, and I was like, okay, let's go. Yeah, exactly. And it's super interesting because you learn a lot and stuff, and I was like looking at all these documentaries about Auroville, and I was saying, well, yeah, let's pay some tickets and just go and see what it looks like the other side of the world. But it was more scary for me to put that letter into the mailbox than like jumping on a plane, which is like interesting. I guess the lack of financial security, and also this letter in a box opened a long period of not being able to define myself socially, which was absolutely painful. And it's still like this idea of, what am I doing? What am I looking for? How can I contribute? What is the color of me, that the special color that I can bring? And it had been obsessive, because I felt like I break down the corsets in a way that was like pulling me in. So it was all open for something new. But something new. What's new? I was just me again, with all my difficulties to be, and mostly to trust. And so this time was really long, like it took, and I'm still half in it. And yeah, it was even the fact of becoming a mom. I'm telling myself, oh, wait a second. It's not because you're a mom that you should forget about the quest. Because the mom could be the quick answer, like, who are you? Oh, a mom. Easy. Like the society will accept that answer for the first time. Like, it's okay to just be a mom. But me, I have this like constant research, and yeah, so
it's an ongoing journey, I hear. And what I also hear is that once you break with this capitalistic way or this functioning, social defining becomes much more difficult, but at the same time also much more, at least that's true for myself, honest in a way. So once you're deciding you're not being or following this particular journey or this particular, I don't really want to call it archetype, but figure in society, being a banker, being a television woman, being a mom, being a father, being a whatsoever, it comes with great liberation, but it also comes with great responsibility, and it comes with a huge uncertainty that you basically redefine yourself. And honestly speaking, I think that's also why it clicked so nicely in our pre-talk, because this uncertainty can be interpreted on many different ways. And I think one can also see it in a very liberating and optimistic way that, yes, one realizes one has contributed to a system that one doesn't want to be part of anymore, but it gives you so much freedom indeed to redefine yourself and to understand yourself. Of course, it also incorporates usually a lot of inner work, which by all means is not easy. It's pretty tough, but I think it's the way forward to understanding yourself and then building the life around that you feel really and truthful with.
Yeah, I resonate a lot with what you say, because for me, it's the connection between freedom and responsibility, and in the middle is choice. Choice is the connection between freedom and responsibility for yourself. I remember quite precisely when I realized I had the possibility to make choice, and it's recent. And before that, I was like, I'm entitled? Am I? And I'm still sometimes confused. Can I say no? Can I leave a space I don't feel comfortable? Can I, like, it's still new. I still feel inside I'm maybe like 4 or 5 years old. I'm really relearning everything from the beginning, like how to behave. What do I like? When do I like to have a shower? And which taste do I like? And when is a good time for me to go to bed? And how do I want to interact with people? And it's like, but the core is the same. Obviously, there is like a red thread, and I try more and more to integrate the part of me of this corporate life, because there are still things amazing. Like, I like the way my brain works. I like my intellectual curiosity. I like what I learned. So it's not gone. It's just that those basic things, I was not able to be in contact with them. And therefore I was never responsible for them. Like, oh, well, I don't know when to go to bed, so I just follow up on someone, and then I get frustrated, or I have resentment because I don't do what I need, but because so with the freedom became like the responsibility and the possibility to choose. And it feels powerful, daunting and powerful. I imagine just as life, really.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and also like integrating the skills that you learned and your experience really from the old life, as you called it earlier, is also essential, right? It's not that, okay, we all put that in a black box and we're never going to look there again, but we actually go through why did things happen, and we create opportunity to learn again, and then integrating your capability and your joy around storytelling, for example, and integrating your curiosity into the life, and maybe finding new foundations through figuring out what is it that I like to smell, to see, to experience, to work with, and then building up on that and not just getting rid of the foundation. I think that is something that
Yeah,
really does make sense to me.
And also like the mind, is like this 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 time I spend and studying, learning with my mind also provide like a critical possibility to have like to take some distance, to analyze, to so there is really really good things. The problem was I was using those things in order to judge everything else. And so on their own, it's the rationalities I think is useful or could be useful to have this critical eye on this critical vision, to be also neutral, take some distance, react less about things. So it's not that I'm refusing it, it's just that I realize there are other things. What about like I develop other, and that's why also Auroville is so amazing, because here on the charter it says that it's the never-ending learning journey, right? Like it's written like this, never-ending education, and I really, really, really believe into that. And I can see the joy of kids when they're learning something new is absolutely magical, and I have the same. Whatever you're telling me, a story or a new method or something I never heard of, or someone's like journey, I feel like, yes, give me, nourish me.
Amazing.
So Auroville is like good for that, to give this inspiration. I mean, it's not the only place, obviously. There are loads in the world. It's just that this one is easy to find because it's big.
No, exactly. And you're already talking to it a little bit, but if I would ask you, what is it that you were searching for in Auroville, and why in Auroville? You talked about where you encountered Auroville, but what would be your response? What is it that you are searching for in Auroville?
I think inspiration in a safe space, in a place that I can explore with less label on me, less etiquette, less and also very concretely less things to do, less bureaucracy papers, less like, I mean, I have way more time just because I don't live in like here. I'm just here ever to volunteer or here for a few months, so I'm out of the life here. So that could be also interesting. That's also in my further idea. It would be, could I come here and live here for like, let's say, a year or 2 years and see how it feels to have a real kind of life. But definitely inspiration and yeah, a safe space are the things I was looking for and that I found as well.
And that would have been my follow-up question, if that are also the things that you found. Is there other things that you found when you came to Auroville?
Yeah, I found lots of love here, lots of love
Nice.
around me, love from, yeah, a lot of love, yeah, for sure, lot of love. And um yeah, like the people here are the things that are my best surprise, like how I was able to co-create those really amazing relationship so quickly with those people that became really really special to my life. Some amazing friendships I found here. So that that was a cherry on the cake, really. I just came here for for stories, and I left with people. So
How amazing is that? And is Orville a place that you could imagine you living for longer time as well? You talked about a year or two, or to base your life around. Is this a place that you feel could be it?
for the moment, for me, Auroville is like is a nourishing place. Is a place to come back to get again inspiration, stories, meeting people that I share the values with. or imagine I feel a bit in danger in my home country, shaky, but about like what I should do, whatever. Coming here is a time of where I can just reflect. I feel I can be free, but because I've never been here as a proper like saying, okay, I'm gonna live here for a while, like more than 6 months, then I can't really reply. And actually, it's broader this question because there is nowhere. I I I I have this big of I have a bit of a problem, you see here, because for me diversity and learning are really present today, and so I translate them as moving regularly places. So I I have this tendency to go the shortcuts kind of and say, oh, I'm gonna move every 2 years somewhere else. Because this need of newness, novelty, learning, discovering is so present. And and again, I remember I'm only 4 or 5 years old. So I didn't manage yet to find a way to learn from something that is known and that I know that I've been at the same time for 10 years. But yet I managed to see all the details that I haven't paid attention before. And I'm so able to look at with new eyes every day that I'm able to find those things naturally. So I go a bit with the short. That's how I've been doing so far, which is like moving a lot in order to have this open eyes.
And new experiences.
But I don't know, with Boom, it might completely change because Boom, yeah, Boom is gonna have his own opinion about us changing every few years. So he might go, ah non, Claire, no, I'm gonna stay at the same place. I have my friends at the school. So you have to grow up a bit and learn how to find newness in your same environment. So I don't know.
And maybe Auroville can still be an inspiration, or other places can still be an inspiration, right? That you go once a year, every other year, whatever the cadence may be, and you explore a place and bring back from there experiences or stories or emotions and feelings that you then reintegrate or integrate into wherever you chose your place to be it in France, be it in India, be it in Europe, whatsoever. I think this is also an approach you may be able to take there.
Yeah, and it's actually very new that I'm able to think in that way, that I'm able to think I'm not only taking. I feel like in the past years in Auroville, I was just taking, learning, give me workshop, give me classes. And this time I've been thinking, hey, maybe I could bring it back a bit of this. Maybe people back home would like to do a 5 dance rhythm like session or whatever thing. But I'm not sure yet, because I haven't been back home and I haven't implemented any of these things. But in the past, it was really clear that I couldn't. I felt like so unsure. I was just like, oh, I just wanted to learn. And maybe I'm able to consider it today that transmitting is also a way of learning. But I haven't done it, so we'll see how it goes. But that would be my partner, for example, is really good at bringing back, like just because he's a veg grower, so he learns from here. Like yesterday, it's like a charcoal, like feeding the soil technique, and he would get so excited because he was like, "Oh, when we'll be back in France and I have my land, I'm gonna be able to use that technique." So I'm not there yet because I haven't found again that thing that not define, but give me this direction, let's say. And because of that, I can't really integrate it in a model that makes sense back home. So I'm still looking.
You're still finding. And I find that vastly interesting because, on the one hand, I'm sure you will find. And on the other hand, we also talked about the anthill. Maybe we can use that as a little of a segue. And I'm not going to try pronouncing the French name because I suppose I'm going to butcher it. But if you talk, you have not integrated something that you've taken from Auroville, but you have helped setting up a forest school, and you may or may not want to talk to that. It might not be directly inspired by Auroville, but it reminded me a lot of Auroville. So maybe we can talk to that a little bit, because I'm supposing that you have actually implemented quite an impressive project together with friends. But maybe you want to talk about, setting up a school in the forest a little bit, and why you did that, and what that means to you.
Yeah, it was during COVID. I was living in Ardèche, which actually where I'm gonna come back, and there were this couple of teachers there, which are really amazing person that I met, and along with another friend who is also a teacher, they wanted to set up a forest school. They had the idea really clear about this need of being in nature, and I just needed someone who is kind of a catalyzer. I don't know if you say in that, like this idea of like, yeah, exactly. And so I think this is the role they offer to me, to be this person to help them to set up the school. And we worked for a whole year for free as volunteers in order to set up the school, which a bit miraculously happened to open the September year after. And we were supported by a strong community of parents and people around us that help us a lot, because obviously the first thing for private school is to find students, to find kids. That's the main target, especially in the countryside of Ardèche, where it's not like you're in the middle of a big town where you can just like do some advertising and you have like 100 people all of a sudden. So it was super important. We follow up with the same bunch of people for a whole year. We follow with us like all our difficulties or success regarding finding a place to stay, having all the agreement from the state, and then defining the program, set up the forests, because the school is half in the morning indoor and in the afternoon outside. So it's like, and it happened every single day. So this experience really changed me a lot, because I really tasted what I felt in the community, really. And because this community of parents and kids really surrounded me. And when when I left, because I followed my English partner to go back to England, they wrote this song based on Imagine from John Lennon, but I wrote it as if like, imagine if someone wanted to create a forest school, how it would be and who she would be. And I was like, everyone around me, and I was crying so much. And all the kids were there, and it was very, very moving moment. And in a way, if today I'm with Boom, it's also because they offered me this, the kids, the kids of the school. They offered me the possibility to realize that, yeah, I can be loved. And they loved me, even though I said really quickly, I won't be able to continue this job, because, again, I'm doing a financial and administrative job. Even though it's an amazing project, I'm still doing this part. And I can't. I need to have some space to allow other things to happen. And they still like, I say that really early on the year, and they still like took me for the whole year. And the kids are so resilient. They're so amazing teachers. So this school is really, really important for me. Yeah, it still exists. Everyone should visit it. It's like amazing. They do it's quite unique actually in France to have like a forest school like this, like every single day, not only like Wednesdays or holidays. And from the age of 3 to 12, usually is also just the first part, but we cover the whole program. So yeah, it's
And
called
how
La
does it work?
Fourmilière.
Do 3-year-olds go out with 12-year-olds, or do you have, let's say, normal classes according to their age, and they just have different classrooms in nature? How can we picture this?
Yeah, so to describe, they arrive in the morning, and in the morning it's from 9 to 12, and they divided into two. The maternelle, so the smallest one, from 3 to 6 with one teacher, and then the older one from 6 to 12 with a second teacher. They both they have some activities in common. Like when they arrive, they do a sharing circle together, they tell stories together, and then they split to have the concrete time of learning. And each of them are learning through what we call in French atelier dirigé, where they can it's activities that are offered by the teacher, but it's really made for each of them. And then you have the time of the lesson, and then 12 lunch break, and then in the afternoon the group is again split by the one who can go to the forest, because you have to be physically a bit strong, especially in Ardèche. It's really cold in the winter, can be snowy. So you have the older ones, let's say from 5 to 12, who are going the 3 hours outside, and then they're there with a naturalist, someone who really knows a lot about like nature, animals, plants, and who's teaching them all this like knowledge, along with the environmental studies, history, geography. What else does she do? Like she followed the program, but outside. And the smallest one, two and twice a week as well. They split into two groups, and they have like artistic practices, classes, exactly. And then they have sports as well on Tuesdays and Fridays. So the idea is to be out. That's the core of it, to stay out. And yeah, and 4:30 the kids are going out, and the parents come back. And on Wednesday, there are loads of activities at the school as well that are organized to create a sense of community. So it's like very vibrant there.
No, it certainly does sound like. And Claire, I would be very interested, because before we talk about the role of nature and education, you said that there is a good community of parents, and I suppose you and I would certainly like to send Boom and the other children to this very school. But how open were people in the French countryside to such an different model of education and schooling, I just want to call it? So how open were people for the forest school? How easy was it to find students?
Yeah, I think we were supported by already from the beginning. We were supported by a community of 3 families that were there from the very beginning with us. And then naturally we were doing some information / gathering meeting every month in order to tell what we want, what we would like to do. And the fact that we are following the program exactly, I think it's quite reassuring as well for people to know, they know what they do. It's just, and also it's a tendency that is not new at all. Like in Denmark, in the UK, forest school are so present, so like developed. So we kind of used resources from abroad also to say, hey, we don't invent anything new here. We just like, it's just that it happened that in France, no, like it's not as practiced, as in those European, like North European countries. But
Interesting. And did you connect to other similar schools, let's just call it, in France or in the UK, in Denmark, in Germany, in Spain, whatsoever?
yeah. So at the beginning, when we spent this first year working on the project, we called out many schools, you see, for help, for advisors. Like for example, there is like even one school that really trained us for a whole year how to open like it's not exactly a forest school, but a similar model. So they really helped us, and there are a few forest school in France that we have contacted in order to have support ideas. Also one of the teachers, she's from Luxembourg, so she's fluent in German, so she had lots of connection there. Another teacher is from Belgium, and the other one is from America. So this school was already like really vivid from like all those backgrounds of the co-founder, all being something else than being French, because me as well, I'm not only French. So it was great. It was giving like a true sense of like, oh no, let's be open, let's try out to see what exists in the world.
Is education or schooling an area or an interest where you could imagine going back towards? You said not in the administrative and into the financial realms of such, but is education something that is really interesting for you personally?
Right, right, right. I also had a chance to give one semester of teaching in Sciences Po, which is my school. I did for so, but that was like when I'm part of my old life, kind of. But I really enjoyed like being with the students for a whole semester, imagining a program for them. And here in Auroville, I participated with Reis, that you know, into a revolution. It was called Revolution Leadership Program that we imagined for youngsters from the age of 18 to 25 in order to find their way of how to be sustainable and yet developing a career. We did that for a whole year. It was through retreats of 10 days in 4 times a year. So and also the last 6 months I've been coaching young people from the age of 18 to 25 in order to still like listening to their needs, try to, because this age is so. I really like the school, being young and like being in the touch, being in the I really learn a lot from them, but I also learn a lot from this age that I think is fascinating, 18 to 25, because you have the sensation that everything needs to be done. You have the sensation sometimes, of course, not for everyone, but that is the time of your life. And I love this intensity that is present, in the thing you do, and and you're still like a teenager, and so I had a chance to work with my friend who has created an amazing project called Milieu Sensible, like sensible environment or sensitive environment, if we're translating, which is an association that offers space for youngsters to go on and not only youngster, actually, she is mixing art with any society complex subject in order to try to identify and imagine different model. And through her association, we took some youngsters 2 years in a row to a surf camp where we were doing at the same time art, body work, obviously the surf, but also history of religion, history of the stars, like the cosmos, a bit of science versus religion, all of this. And in between those two camps, we had a chance to coach them. I learned a bit of trust. I learned how to have faith in God. I learned like they were amazing, those people. The two of them were coming from African countries, and they had this big faith and different background than me. It was marvelous. So this age definitely, like working with people, with some people who want to learn basically, and I felt like
Who are eager, right?
yeah.
I think that's a very interesting period in many people's lives, not in everybody's life, I suppose, but I think it's just naturally the time where you educate yourself either in university or you start working, you start experimenting with jobs, with physical work and so forth. So I very much agree that this is a very interesting, or it can be a very interesting period. So I think you do a great job supporting youngsters to find their way, right? Because I suppose also many people do not get the tools or do not get the inspiration or the coaching, whatever we want to call it, to actually identify what they really want to do. But they jump back to this, what is this capitalistic way, or what is this society telling me? They tell me I should drive a fast car or 3 of them, or I should have a big house, or I should do this. And if you come into the narratives of such during that age, you of course believe them because you believe in the elders who tell you that this is important, or money is important, or stability is important. And for some people, this might be important, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everybody should do this or that or do this or that, but I think having the tools to understanding yourself, what is it that you really like, is something that you can give to other people, and then they can take their own educated decisions on what to work on, right?
Mm-mm. Yeah, and I found it especially interesting to do this work with them. As myself, I don't know, because because it puts me in a place that I'm just trusting their process. Their process is like I'm just next to them because I'm like, look, me, I haven't found, so I'm not gonna tell you how to do it. I'm just gonna listen and give you, compassion and support, and that's only what I've been trying to do.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Claire. And you just now mentioned a word, and you mentioned it earlier, and this might be a dead end, but maybe it's not. And it's the word of trust. And when you change something about your life, and I can speak for myself, there usually is a lot of uncertainty, and we talked about how uncertainty can also be opportunity. But how much did you always trust, or how much did you learn to trust your endeavors that are somewhat left or right the traditional path? Is that something that came natural for you, or is that something that you still are learning to trust yourself?
Yeah, no, trust doesn't come naturally. It's because there is something else, you see. that happened for me. It's not trust, it's instinct of survival. I knew something had to change, and that was way bigger than me. So it's not that I was trusting that it's going to be okay. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? It was just like, I need to do that. I need to do that, and I might crash, but I need to do that, and then we'll see. And it's a bit the same story with Boom. Like, I don't have trust that it's I don't know what it's gonna be like. I don't know who's gonna be this person. I don't know if it's gonna go well for me, for Boom, for like it feels like the world is in a place of despair. It doesn't feel like the time to trust anything. But there is something bigger there for me. It's the body. The body talks. The body has this wisdom. And so my body pushed me to go out of this life. It was a body, it was instinct, it was like animal, it was like now, like it's now. And same for Boom, and same for most of my choices. Then trust come way after a lot of inner work and breathing exercises and and talking to people and say, why am I struggling so much? And but I think what is very present is this instinct. And yeah, and from this instinct there is some wisdom, I think, at least for me.
This very strong instinct, gut feeling, whatever we want to call it. And yeah, I think you're very right. I think trust does not come natural. It comes over time when you start experimenting, you start making things different. And of course, there will be failure in a way, and there will be mistakes, and there will be steps in certain ways, but you tend to understand after some time, and it's an ongoing journey for myself, that this is all part of the journey and this is all how it's supposed to be, right? So it's not like, okay, let's jump from this airplane and I have all my parachutes back on my back, but you had to jump, and now you still figure out how to land or how to continue jumping for some time,
Yeah,
right? And creating
exactly.
that kind of trust.
It's exactly that. And I believe that it's funny that we have this discussion, because yesterday I was in a very vulnerable place, as I was taking a singing class with a very good friend. For me, the singing is it's not natural at all. And I was crying and I was saying, why am I still like confronting myself like that? Like, why is it still such a struggle to be me? And she says something that I found like so beautiful, and she say, but in this big trauma, in this big wound you have within yourself, there is some gold, and you keep looking for outside what I should do, like what I should contribute to the world from outside. But imagine the gold is really within, like the gold is really from the wound. Like, can you look at the wound? Can you look at the shame? Can you look at this thing that is so dark from you and see like that it has brought gold into your life? And for me, it was really, really big to hear this idea that in this muddy, entangled, um, dark thing that I have inside, a mix of the shame and of the uncertainty and the struggle, inside this big wound, there is some stuff to get out. And from this stuff, I could find my contribution to the world. But to go there, to go into the wound, you're like, who wants to go there? It's like, I, I, and and this is when we began thinking, and through the voice, like, because she's doing this process of helping people through voice, because it's a vibration voice, like, and again, it's the body finding his own resources, healing himself, because when you realize that the vibration goes through you, then you realize that everything disappear, everything pass, everything. So that gave me trust, this feeling of, if I can go in such a big despair and yet through the voice, like going out, even though I'm going to come back to it later, then it means that I could get out of anything, because it's just like energy, like it just passes through me. But my next step, my next curiosity should be, hey, let's go to the wound. Let's see which type of gold we can find there. And I'm not sure I can do this work. I never consider it as an answer to this eternal quest I have of how I'm going to contribute to the world. Never thought from the gold of my wound, but could be a lead.
No, and my personal opinion on that is that the inner transformation and the outer transformation are necessary, very much linked. And what you talk about, I resonate with a lot, because yes, it's a difficult realization, but it's also liberating, that you basically have the gold or the answers or the path, whatever you want to call it, inside of you, right? But you have to confront your shadows or your shame or your wounds, and it's difficult work. It's not easy to do so, and one also doesn't know how long it will take or where it will take you. So you don't have that certainty, right? It's not about, I will sign up for therapy for 6 weeks or for 8 weeks, or I will go to this one retreat to the woods and then I will take care of all that. But it's really an inner commitment to do this inner work and to just accept what's coming, because this is the only thing one can do. And usually it comes in waves, and I suppose that it usually also takes a lifetime. It's not something that comes for a couple of months or a couple of years. There might be intense or more intense phases in your life, and then you can follow up again on that, or like continue sharing with the world and helping others to heal. But to have this realization that after all, if you want to go out into the world and heal and contribute, the first step is really getting to know yourself and getting to love yourself also, including all your shadows and all your mistakes and all what the narratives are around such, right? Because you are the person you are with all your characteristics and with all your traits.
I think, you see, like, I had this, like, I've been doing this inner work for a long time, but I think I was approaching it through, I'm gonna heal myself, I'm gonna fix myself. Whereas the way she said it was like, spend some time into the wound, see what it can offer you. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to. I always have this sensation of a hole inside me, like I want it always to repair, to block the hole, so that I was more complete. And in a way, she was like, no, I mean, whatever, yes, no, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about inside the hole, there's stuff. Yeah. So it gave me it triggered me in a good way, in the way that it challenged my inner child, and it was like a bit like, yeah, let's go for treasure hunt. So I'm a bit more excited than usual to go and spend some time maybe there.
Amazing. Claire, if you're willing to share, how do you treasure hunt? Meaning, what kind of inner work do you do at this very moment? Do you do it with breath works, which you mentioned, with meditation, with singing, with all different types? Do you just stay open to all the different modalities? I don't know if you have some comments for us.
the biggest thing I've been following is that it's called the medicine wheel, and I had an amazing medicine wheel therapist or teacher, whatever we call it, who lives in England. And we have been doing this work for like maybe 4 or 5 years now, and it has been really, really, really amazing. It's just a model. Medicine wheel is not revolutionary. It's just a type of categorizing the word so that we understand it. But what I like is super playful, and is connected to nature. It's like in movement, so I think movement is really, really helping to yeah, let it alive what needs to be alive. So it has been really, really helping for me. And then I'm not too good, unfortunately, at meditation and breathing, even though I should get better at breathing, because apparently it's the way to go through a contraction during birth. So yeah, I'm gonna try to spend more time doing this breathing exercises. But for me, what feels like the most natural way is just go on a walk and do a self-checking with the part of myself and give some voices to the part of myself who don't get a chance to be heard, including the one like the childish one or the controlling one. Or so that really, really helped me. Just go for a walk, like not even long. And when I was in COVID and I was like having no life and being really, really like not being good because of personal difficulties regarding to my childhood, walking has just saved me. I was walking every day, like 2 hours in the mountain of Ardèche, and I was able to let it go through, let it be heard, and let it be also healed in a way by all these elements around me, the trees, the air, just the sun, just the feeling of being alive and being connected to being part of all these things that are surrounding me, feeling that the earth is still there. Like I have trust in the earth, for example. I never question the fact that in the morning when I'm gonna come out of bed, there's gonna be a floor underneath my feet. And so I build up some big relationship to elements in order to feel connected. And I think that helped me to realize it's not all on me. I'm not alone. That's my main work. But also like I'm very open to try out, like the work my friend is doing with the voice, I think is fascinating. And yeah, it's just which one you integrate into a daily practice. And for me, walking, just being in this rhythm on my own without listening to a podcast or without talking to anyone. That's helped me a lot.
And I think that's a very important point you raised, because for some it might be yoga, for some it might be a walk, for some it might be a swim, for some it might be whatever it may be, right? And it also might change over time. So it works for you today, it might change in half a year or in 1 year, and it very likely will change in the next few years. And that's also perfectly fine to accept that, but to also nourish and to also be able to give yourself some space for doing that and for exploration. And I think you're at a wonderful place in Auroville right now where things like that happen naturally or more often. And I suppose in Ardèche it's the same, but then it's also your decision to frequent those places or to live in those places and be open to such, right? I think in the end everybody has their options to a certain way, and many people are limited, of course, but being open, you can also do a lot of stuff online, right? You can practice yoga with a yoga teacher online, or you can teach breath works with somebody, or you can just go for walks by yourself. And of course, it's beautiful to be surrounded by nature and be in the mountains, but if you happen to live in a city, you can also find a park there, and you can also find ways to go for walks, right? So it's really about finding out what works for you and figuring out if that is what you want to continue with or how that changes, and playing around with it, I think, is very vital.
Yeah, completely resonating to this idea that we need to, everything is there, it's not related to the environment. So, but yeah.
My audience will have heard that a couple of times, but what I did during COVID, luckily, is I told myself that 1 hour per day I'm going to do physical activity, and 1 hour per day I'm going to do mental activity. And if I fill this mental activity with yoga or with meditation or with reading a book, didn't really matter in the beginning when I just came up with this, I don't know if I want to call it a rule, but this space that I created for myself, and it helped me so much, right? I went outside, I went for walks, I went for sports, I went for runs, I went for reading, and it helped me so much. And this is really something also that I talk about happily and often to people, that it doesn't matter so much what you do, just create yourself a structure that you can do it, and then see where this will take you. And yeah, I'm doing different things now than I did 2 years ago, obviously, or 3 years ago, or 5 years ago.
And I think like what you just said reminds me of the importance of rituals as well. Rituals for yourself is like, yeah, those little gifts that you offer to yourself to allow a space of sacred, and it could be just, yeah, indeed, just read, or just what is sacred for us, like that's a nice question, this question of rituals.
Claire, we talked a lot, and there are 3 last and final questions that I ask all of my podcast guests. But before we go there, is there anything that you feel like we haven't talked about in sufficient depth today, or that you would like to share with the audience that comes to mind?
No, I want to hear the 3 questions.
Wonderful. The first one being is, Claire, what is it that makes you hopeful?
The baby I carry.
Amazing. Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. The second of the 3 questions is, who are your mentors, or whom do you personally look up to?
Oh, there's my partner, Tom, for his quest of truth. My friend Shalini is the voice teacher. My medicine wheel teacher, Magali. My friend Malika, for her ability to contemplate the word. It's very rare.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. And the last and final question for today's episode, anyways, is a rather hypothetical one. And I call it the 3 truths. And Claire, I would like you to imagine that you are traveling all by yourself, maybe with Boom, for some time, and you travel in space. And it could be a couple of months, and it also could be a couple of years. And after all that solo travel, you encounter a human-like species. And they can only process 3 facts or 3 truths about humanity before they decide whether or not they want to get to know us. What is it that you tell them?
Humans can learn anything. They're so resilient. They can learn absolutely anything and everything. Humans embody the worst and the most beautiful things that you can ever imagine. Both of them at the same time. They are the embodiment of the permanent simultaneously state. It can be this and that all the time. And women and human can share stories. Humans have this amazing ability to make other humans dream and imagine, and this power of dreaming, imagination, sharing stories through this very creative work of language is absolutely fascinating.
It certainly is. Learning, balance, and sharing stories. And with that, Claire, thank you so much for sharing
Thank
your
you.
personal story and being a guest
Thank
on the
you.
Just Another Mindset podcast. And if you have any final words or comments for our audience today, it's all yours.
Yeah, just enjoy, and I'm super happy to talk to new people. So if anyone want to contact or need info about Auroville or the forest school or voice work or my, like, all those people I've mentioned that do an amazing job, I'll be super happy to put them in contact with those people.
Wonderful. I will make sure that they have your contact. Claire, thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
If you enjoy this podcast and learn from it, please feel free to share this episode with a friend or two, and make sure to subscribe to the Just Another Mindset podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please use the next 10 seconds to give the Just Another Mindset podcast a rating, and know that you will help me to create more meaningful content like this, and also that it will help other people to find this content and get inspired as well. If there is any future topic or guest that you would like to hear more about on the Just Another Mindset podcast, please let me know by leaving a comment on YouTube or sending a mail directly to contact@ismaelwondergarten.com. And if nobody told you lately, be reminded that you are worthy, you matter, and you can achieve anything.
Do more of what makes you happy.
Be yourself. Positive.
Change.
Just another mindset.